Welcome to Infinite Think, your resource for success and happiness. I'm one of your hosts, Kenya Cook.
And I'm Richard Roundtree, and I want to thank you guys so much for listening to us. And please, please, if you have not already, subscribe to us on Infinite Think at Instagram and on YouTube. It means a lot. We're just trying to spread that knowledge.
Please like, share, promote. We just want to bring good energy to people by sharing the information that we're getting. And Richard is doing a fantastic job with that out in Cali. Richard, I see that you started your classes back up.
Oh, the classes, you know what? They never really stop. They're always going. And it's a blessing to be able to teach and actually also learn from my students. I always take each opportunity to teach with a beginner's mind. So I'm not trying to teach somebody to preach to someone, but I'm really just trying to learn from them and just give them a little bit of love so we can both learn from the experience.
And I think that's an important feature there. You just hit on something. We were talking about it a little bit in pre-production, but being that student when you're in that teacher mode, it kind of keeps the reciprocity, it keeps everything in that environment lively and important. I manage schools, and that's one of the things we talk about with our educators is being a student and a teacher at the same time. So your philosophy there is right on the money, my brother. Right on the money there. Well, last time we met, we had episode 6, and we had Josh Weber on the show.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say, we haven't put that one up on Facebook yet. It is on YouTube, but that episode is amazing. But please check out his movie, Never Heard. It's now on Netflix, starring Lil Romeo and Karuchi Tran. It's a great movie about a father-son healing relationships, but please go look at that. Now, my biggest takeaway, though, from that meeting was the importance of understanding that, like Kenyatta Griggs spoke of in his episode, so Seek First to Understand, we want to take those understandings and that awareness of where a person is at, and through synergy, turn that into something positive to our relationship. What were your takeaways, Richard?
I take those same takeaways. It's always about the perspective that you have when you just deal with life, because we all dealt with cards. Some people are dealt with great cards. Some people dealt with not so good cards. And it's all about your perspective and your attitude. And that determines what you really do with your cards and what you really do in life. And if you have a great attitude, and even though sometimes you might be in impoverished conditions, you can really turn your life around and develop synergistic relationships with people. You can turn negatives into positives, and you can really live a happy and healthy life.
Wow. And I think that most of us want to have a happy and healthy life. So, brother, thank you for sharing that. Now, I'm getting excited here, so let's see if we can put this together right. Our guest today is the Vice President of the Sacramento Kings Academy and Player Development. He has a PhD in health psychology. He's a retired United States Army Reserve officer.
Wow.
This Detroit native attended Lake Superior State, graduated in '94, where he plays college basketball. He left there, went to Wayne State University to get his master's degree in '97, and then he achieved his PhD from my alma mater, Walden University, in 2006. Please give my good friend, my brother, warm welcome to Infinite Think, Dr. Galen Duncan.
Woo! Hey, what's going on, fellas? How's it going there?
Yeah.
All right. Please excuse the raspiness of my voice. Been a long couple days, a long road trip we're on here. So.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to the show, brother. We're thankful that your time. I know I'm in New York. I know you and Richard on the East Coast, so it's kind of early there, and you got a flight to catch. So today we're going to have a great show, and we're going to just pick your brain a little bit, if that's okay.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This whole season 2 has been focused on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen R. Covey. And our goal is being the best version of ourselves. If we are working hard day in, day out, at some point, you can lose your edge. It could be physical, mental, spiritual on your relationship. So let me ask you this. We're talking about staying sharp, sharpening the saw. So that's the tone of the dialogue today.
Mm-hmm.
So Rick,
go ahead.
Rick, so the format basically that we normally follow is that we're going to ask you 2 questions that are pretty structured, and then we're going to have Richard's going to ask you a round wild card question.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Let's roll.
Hey, let's get it going here.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Duncan, I understand that, we all want to be our best, and we're doing whatever we can do to become better. But over time, things can kind of, weaken, screws get loose, We got to go back and we got to tighten things up. But before we get to that point, I'm thinking, what are some things for you that you think are important? What are your key areas in life that you say, you know what, these areas are going to require maintenance and I need to make sure I stay mindful of them?
I work best out of structure. If I know where I have to be and when I have to be there, it always works best for me. When I have more like let's say less unstructured time, I don't necessarily achieve things in a manner that I need to. So I've started doing things like I get up in the morning and work out. So if I start my day with a good workout followed by a good breakfast, I'm setting myself up, for a little structure. I also like to try to plan a little bit of the day prior while leaving gaps for any issues that I might encounter throughout the day. So I try not to do to back meetings up back to back. I try not to do hour after hour after hour. I try to leave a little bit of time in between so that I can recap, from those situations.
Mm. That's that's great. That's a good takeaway for me because sometimes I push it back to back to back. But lately I just been saying, you know what, I got to have those little gaps in my life. Just like say if I have like an appointment and it takes me 20 minutes to go between appointments, sometimes I'll just schedule it like 15 minutes later. I need to put it like 25, 30 minutes later and just take my time to drive instead of always rushing to get to point
Right.
A to point B because it makes me a little bit fried sometimes and not
Yeah.
my best version when I'm going into my next appointment.
Yeah. I mean, you have to make sure that you're able to, decompress and kind of reevaluate what you've just been through as well.
Mm.
Otherwise, oftentimes you miss learning points from somewhere you've just come going to your next meeting rushing.
Yeah,
Hey,
decompress.
hey, let me bring y'all back a little bit. We jumping straight to the solution.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it. But those are the solutions. And I'm glad that you brought those up. So I want to make sure we come back to that piece. But let's start with time management is one of those areas, or your schedule is one of those areas that you have to make sure you're maintaining it. Because, like Richard was saying, his example, if you're not looking at that, you start booking too many things back to back to back to back, and you won't have that moment to kind of reflect, refresh, or kind of move into your next meeting a little bit less stressful because you had to deal with whatever commute issues might have come up.
Right. Or even just, the fact that you're not fully taking advantage of every situation. There's only a certain amount of hours during the day. We're gonna use up, or if you're doing it right, you're gonna use up 8 of them sleeping,
Hmm.
because you have to get your rest.
Okay.
You're gonna use up a several amount of them in transition or travel. You're gonna lose some of them just to mishaps and errors, because we are human and we make mistakes. So that's why you have to have a cushion and a structure.
Okay.
Hmm.
So in that, you're saying then we're still talking about one of your areas that you have to maintain. You mentioned your physical. You talked about making
Yep.
sure you get proper sleep. So I think
Yep.
that's a good piece because Richard opened up the show talking about physical being one of those areas that you have to maintain. What are some other strategies to maintain your physical? I hear that you work out in the morning.
Yep. Workout. I try to work out at least 5 days a week of some kind, and then I call the other 2 days maintenance days. Um, you can work out effectively without ever going to a gym
Hmm.
if you know what you're doing.
Hmm.
So, if your goal is to be more active, then walk to work if you can do so. Ride a bike to work.
Hmm.
Uh, Make sure that you find ways. Like a lot of times, I'm in a hotel, so I'll do steps. I'll do the steps instead of the elevator,
Mm.
up and down. I'll walk to practice, whereas everybody jumps on the bus. You know, I'll walk. I'll walk, and so that's easy stuff like that. It's
Hmm.
just certain things. If you park at the other end of the parking lot and walk all the way to the place you're going to. Uh, there's so many different ways that you can set yourself up. Require yourself to do. When I fall out of bed, I try to do 25, 30 push-ups.
Hmm.
Mm.
And then I'll go take my shower and brush my teeth. I'll come back. I'll do 25, 30 more push-ups before I put my clothes on.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just to kind of
So,
get that blood moving.
hmm so basically, even though you do have cushions in your life, there's still always a good flow in your life, no matter what. You're still maximizing the time, and everything doesn't have to be like I need to go to the gym for an hour and a half every day and
Mm-mm.
all that. It can be a very fluid. integrated lifestyle where you combine working out with doing other activities at the same time, as long as it's structured and organized
Absolutely. I call
in some manner.
it's kind of like organized confusion though, because
Organized confusion. Yeah.
if somebody was watching me move throughout my day, it might not make sense to them because I'm a bit quirky. I have some quirks to me.
Yeah. No,
And, but what you have to do is you have to find your niche and how those quirks work together. I mean, how you can work your quirks into your niche.
yeah. No, I feel you. I'm the same exact way. That's what I need. That's the area where I do need to just kind of. I try to do too much at once, but I do believe in this integrated, free flowing lifestyle. I think like the old way was to say like, oh, you got to allocate this amount of time to do this amount of time. But there's things when you can do multiple things. I ain't gonna say multitask, but you can layer things and have an integrated lifestyle where you can really maximize your time to be more effective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those, Rick, I think those are some great suggestions for when people say, hey, I want to sharpen the saw, but I'm too busy sawing. You just gave them a solution for the physical piece, whereas that they can park further away from the door. They can take the stairs versus the elevator. When you first get up out of bed, hit the ground and do your 10 push-ups. So I think those are some great tools. Now, the other thing I'm curious a little bit about, what about the mental side? Because you are a PhD, Dr. Duncan, and that's your niche there. What are some things that we can do to sharpen our mindset, to stay sharp mentally?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think one is mental self-care. Finding time to get away from the rigors of life and the things that you have to do to the things you want to do sometimes. Personally, mine has kind of become music. And not from the standpoint that I'm going to, I'm making a record or I'm going to, do anything financial with it, but it's just an out for me. It's a place where I can go and kind of lose myself for several hours, and not really have to worry about, the rest of the world.
So there's a possibility for DJ Dr. Duncan, huh?
Like I said, we got, it might be some turntables sitting in front of me right now. It might be a computer. Okay. It might be a computer with a little bit of music, and oh no, it might be a set of headphones here. I don't know.
What are you bumping? What are you bumping?
I feel it all, and it's funny because I work with young people, and working with young folks, you kind of keep, integrated into what's going on. So. And also having, two young children, or two young adults, I should say, about to be 17-year-old and about to be 19-year-old kid, you have a wide genre. And growing up where we grew up in the 80s, where everybody's music was everybody's music, you kind of have, you just kind of have a broad palette. So, I mean, if I have to answer that question directly, I just messed around with a little bit of that middle child.
I like J. Cole. J. Cole's the man, though.
Travis is definitely on my playlist. I love The Weeknd.
Yeah, The Weeknd's great.
Dude says some real crazy stuff, but interesting cat. But you also catch me, bumping some old Al B. Sure or some Guy. So, what I think I remember loving most as a kid. I don't know, Kay, if you remember this. Remember the DJ, what was DJ 6 Cent, and he used to do the wrong songs?
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
So this dude would mix like some Madonna, with some Travis Scott. And you're sitting there like, how did he do that and made it hot? But, I kind of dig DJs that could do that, like old DJ AM, who used to go all across genres. So,
yeah.
Long story to answer that question. I love it all.
That's dope. That's dope. Hey, well, before we switch over a little bit, let me throw this out there. Check out that Miley Cyrus Biggie Smalls Party and BS version.
Oh, okay.
So, and I think that's a good thing, guys, that when you have an outlet to maintain your mental, yours is music, mine is music as well as cooking. And I'm even starting to more appreciate that time when I'm cooking, that time when I'm, making music or whatever, because that does allow me to access different parts of my brain, use different skill sets, and then through synergy, like we talked about with Josh Weber, I kind of apply some of that stuff for myself professionally. Rich, what are some things you do to maintain your mental health?
For me, just always just yoga. I love yoga, but also being in nature. So I'm blessed that I do live in Southern California. We have great nature, hiking, beach, surfing. For me, that's the master teacher is being with nature. Being with the ultimate creator. So, and that really sharpens my tool all the time.
I like that. I like it.
Yeah.
So we're talking about going back to nature, hobbies,
Mhm.
doing things that maybe not necessarily core to your key responsibilities in life, and you might not be able to monetize it. But these are different things you can do to still stay to sharpen your mental.
Mhm. Well, yeah, for me, even if I'm like out in nature, I'm not gonna say multitask. I can be reviewing some stuff that I need to review while on my AirPods and taking a nice walk along the beach. So I'm like, doing two for one, and it's in a very relaxing environment, and I'm absorbing information in a relaxed environment versus in a kind of maybe sometimes a stressful environment, like in my flat sometimes. So it's just always good for me to incorporate nature what I do in life because it just brings a wider perspective for me to be able to be able to appreciate and to be able to absorb the information I need to absorb.
Well, guys, I just got a text message from a good friend of ours, Brad Jackson,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a question about overthinking kills your happiness.
Oh yeah.
And since we're talking about mental health, overthinking kills your happiness. What are some strategies to not overthink? His question was, how do you not do that?
Hmm. I mean, well, first of all, I think you have to trust your first mind. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time, the first thought that you have is close to the right one. It just may need a little tweaking. You know,
Yeah.
it's it's when now I'm not saying you shouldn't brainstorm and plan and weigh pros and cons, but at some point that pros and cons list tells itself and you have to go with your decision.
Yep. Yeah. I'm gonna piggyback on that because that's one thing I'm working on. So one of my teachers said, if your intuition is on point, you should be able to make a decision in 9 seconds. So that decisiveness is what prevents overthinking. Because when you're always, going back and forth, flip flopping between making a decision, that's really killing the decision making skills. But if you just, like you said, trust your first instinct, trust your first mind, maybe with just a little bit of thought, thinking through it a little bit, and just go with it. And no matter what, you over the long run, you'll be much more successful, and I think a lot more less stress. So.
The
And it
other thing
sounds
the other thing I would say too is that I think you bounce ideas off of people that you trust.
Mm.
People you've been, people who have been tried and true and have made good decisions in their life and in business and things like that. You have to develop a core group of people that you can go to. When you have a indecision process or somebody who's been through a similar situation who can talk to you about those things and can
Mhm.
relate and give you pros and cons based on that as well.
Dr. Duncan, can I throw in there then a part of your staying mentally sharp or sharpening your mindset? I guess we can include in there your network, your
Hmm.
powwow group, your tribe. Because if
Hmm.
you have these ideals or these thoughts in your head, you kind of want somebody to bounce off of that you trust and they have credibility so you can work through it. Then, Richard, what you were saying about trusting your instinct, piggybacking off of Dr. Duncan, that when we practice trusting our instinct, when we practice going into our tribe to kind of work through our thoughts, then we put ourselves in a better place to don't overthink, just act. Take
Yep.
action following these strategies you guys just gave.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
Mr. Brad Jackson, that answers your question.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, no matter what, you're gonna make some decisions wrong, but there's nothing worse than just constantly be indecisive. That's you're gonna be in so much. First, you're gonna be internally stressed, and your life is not gonna be productive and effective. So you're gonna take some losses on some decisions, but you just got to keep it flowing. I believe. You know.
My question would be is how do you evaluate or figure out who you trust?
Mm.
That I mean that becomes an even deeper point in this is that if you can't readily pull out of your pocket who you trust and who you can call on during certain situations, then oftentimes you find yourself at a loss. Me personally, I love a lot of people, but I trust very few.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being the case, I have to be very careful if whether I'm looking at someone and listening to them because I love them, or am I listening to them and going with what I feel is true because I trust them.
Mm-hmm.
They're two very different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Wow. I'm almost want to pause for a minute really to just take that in because that was good, Rick, Dr. Duncan. That was good.
All good.
Yeah.
All good.
I'm going to put a pause on that one. We might have to edit the video, Richard, so that we can kind of put that stream together. But that was good.
Yes.
Well, one of the things we talk about, when we talk about sharpening our physical, sharpening our mental, we spoke about our spiritual. Now, I know that many people have different things they do, whether it be attend church, attend mass, you go on Saturday, you go on Sunday, you pray 5 times a day. People have different things that they do to maintain their spiritual. Before we go into that, I would like to ask the question to both of you. Why is that important to maintain your spiritual? Because we identify physical, we identify mental. But why is it important to maintain your spiritual from your perspective?
Well, I think that personally, the whole entire person, when we evaluate a player, to come and work for the Kings, we look at their entire person, and we have it's like a pie graph. I'm not going to give you the secret sauce on that because that's our secret sauce. But when I created part of that, my portion of that pie for evaluation, I look at several things, and I look at the complete person in a pie that should be equal slices. It should be your spiritual nature, your mental health, your physical health, your personal well-being and the people around you, your safety, and also your livelihood, the things that you enjoy to do. If you have an equal slice of pie that covers all of those things, you're talking about pretty much the complete person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. I kind of want to see the pie now.
Yeah.
Well, some things I
Nice.
can't show you. It's secret sauce around here that we're working with. But
Yeah.
we could talk offline. You're my guy. I can give you a small portion of it.
Yeah.
So we won't reveal the secret launch codes.
No,
Yeah.
Rich,
no
what are some
lost
things that in your realm of the spiritual sharpening of the saw? What are some of your thoughts?
Like I said, like he said it too. You got to have that structure and that. So for me, just doing daily meditation, like every morning before I got up and did this interview, I meditated for 45 minutes. So that daily meditation is important. But once again, being in nature, but also being around people that you can trust and you can love. At the end of the day, there are a lot of people out there that don't fit both descriptions, but there are a lot of people that do fit both descriptions. At least in my life, and I feel blessed that way. I feel like I'm putting out that energy, so I'm receiving it back. So I'm and the people that I don't trust and love, they kind of just fall out of my life. So that's kind of like, I believe, the laws of attraction. I think if you put the proper energy out there, you receive the proper energy back. So just being in the right tribe and the daily discipline of meditating and connecting with God, I think it is important to just connect with God or whoever you want to be, the ultimate being, because I think at the end of the day, we can take life way too seriously. And if we don't realize that we're all just one, we all have to have humility toward the ultimate being, then we can take our life too seriously and we can be way too stressed out, and nothing really good flows in your life when you're in that state. You're in a state of desperation and scarcity versus a state of abundance. So I believe in being in a state of abundance.
So, Richard, I think that answers the question really well, because you just hit on something. Why is spirituality important? Why is it important to sharpen it? Dr. Wayne Dwyer would say, staying connected to the infinite, staying connected to the source, staying connected to God is what empowers us. It gives us strength. It gives us focus. The Christian Bible, the King James Version talks about the small, still voice will guide you. So when we're talking about how to move in life, I think it's important to stay connected to the source, because that's kind of like, that's going to recharge you. That's going to focus you. That's going to give you direction. Now I know people believe in a lot of different things, but from my testimony and my life, I can tell you, when I take my time for prayer, when I take my time for meditation, when I take my time, like Dr. Duncan said earlier, and I kind of set my day up in advance with leaving those gaps, I feel more in control, and that's not necessarily of my own strength because the day's challenges are the exact same. The only thing that's different is my attitude and my connection to the spiritual. That's the only thing that's different. Because there's so many people are negative and something bad happens and they don't realize you're just bringing more of it back into your life. You wake up in the morning, you stump your door, stump your toe on the edge of the bed. It's like, ow, this is going to be a bad day. You just spoke it into existence.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I know it sounds a little hippy dippy, but I think that's the way. I think that's the way it works.
We're going to be hippy dippy. Dr. Duncan, you know what? If you still got time, I got a question. We're not going too personal because of your role. What are some coaching or mentoring notes or things you said to your players when you see them not as sharp as they should be, or you see them falling off? What are some things you kind of say to them?
Well, our season is so entirely long, so at some point everybody's going to fall off in some way. It's all about how you get back on. You play 82 games. You're in a different city every other night. I mean, we're on a road trip right now where we left. I think we left. I don't even know what day it is. Today Friday. Today is Friday, right?
Right.
So we left last Saturday, and we won't be back in Sacramento until Sunday. During that course of that time, we play 5 or 6 games. You're in and out of cities. Guys have family obligations in different places, so it's hard to manage it all. It's hard, and you go through a period of being tired. There's times when things aren't going right, when you go through a period of being lonely, angry. All those things transpire during that process. So, to kind of get to your question, it's because I'm with these guys all the time. I can see changes in their personality, changes in their behavior. And the number one indicator that somebody's going through something is they act out of character. I'm personally, I'm usually the same guy every day. Kenya can tell you that, since the day he met me, I've probably been the same dude pretty much every day that he's seen me. And the days that I was different, there was something really going on. And people, if you spend enough time around people and you pay enough attention to their behaviors and get to know them well enough, you know that something's wrong. At that point, you identify it. You say, hey, man, I'm seeing this, this, and this. You were late to practice. You missed the bus. You didn't look the same as shoot around. You weren't as talkative. Your hello wasn't the same. I'm seeing these things. You didn't perform well on the court. I see you with different people than I've seen you with before. So what's going on? What's different? And talk to me about how this is impeding your success. And that's oftentimes difficult to deliver to a 19, 20-year-old young man who doesn't quite see it that way. So identification is usually the first thing. You have to bring it to their attention that this is what they're putting out. This is what people see. And then I let them know, hey, I'm not the only one who's seen this. Someone else has mentioned it to me. And so, I said, then I also have to be careful because you got to massage these guys because they're so young. You can't do anything that's going to, damage your relationship with them because they need to know that you care, that you're only getting after them because you care. So first you identify, then you tell them why you're doing it. And then we talk about what we're going to do next. Like, how can we avoid these situations? How can we get back on track to where we were? What do we need to do to be our best selves? All that other stuff you got going on, can that stuff wait until we're done with the season? Make sense?
That's fair.
Makes absolute sense. Yeah.
That's very fair. And I think that's an important piece. Like you said, first identify what's going on with them and demonstrate that you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That is a classic piece.
Real talk.
Well, gentlemen, we've talked about physical. We've talked about mental. We've just talked about spiritual. Now, here's a tricky one. Relationships, keeping them sharp. Now, relationships, I know some people, I had one person thought we were talking about just your relationships with the opposite sex or romantic relationships. But in fact, all relationships require maintenance. Now, I generally ask that question, why is that important to maintain those relationships? But I'm just going to ask you just straightforward, Dr. Duncan. What do you do to maintain important relationships?
Uh, you know, I think it's important to remind people of where they stand with you. With important relationships, I prefer to be upfront and honest. If I have the answer, I give it to you. Um, if I have a different opinion or a different feeling, I give it to you. Um, the one thing I can't be concerned with is the people that are closest to me. I can't be concerned with how they take things all the time because sometimes we got to deliver the information.
Mm.
And part of delivering the information is sometimes it comes with a sharp tongue or not necessarily good feelings. But if you have a genuine relationship with someone, however that message is delivered, it's received in the fact that you care
Mm.
and that you love. But that only happens through demonstration of behavior.
Mm. Demonstration.
Richard?
That trust
Yeah.
does. That trust only comes from the demonstration of care and behavior on other fronts before you've given them that piece of your mind that they needed to hear.
Mm. Yeah, I think people take for granted how important demonstration of behavior is. It's like because at the end of the day, your actions speak a lot louder than your words. So and then that really in my opinion, that was what really determines your level of intensity and intimacy between two people, whether it be man or female or just two good friends, or even
Absolutely.
siblings. You know, so it takes time. Is basically what you're saying to develop a
Absolutely.
true relationship that's sharp and that's connected.
Absolutely.
And I think also when we're talking about the importance of those relationships is how they help us grow either through accountability or through information or through just self-reflection after looking at an experience to get a better understanding. But I think for me, relationships are very important because it gives me another perspective. And like Dr. Duncan was saying, and you said as well, Richard, that trust piece allows you to hear the information differently. So there's some things like if I say it's some things that I may say or do, and I know that when my mother speaks on it, it gets a different reaction out of me than if someone else does because of the trust, the nurturing, the nature, and just the dynamic of that relationship. But once again, it is a relationship that I value because I know how it helps me, and also vice versa. They say mothers that talk to their kids every day live longer. So these are things we're hearing. I don't know how factual it is, but it sounds good and it sounds real.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Well, I think at the
It
end of the day,
sounds.
I don't know, we get so caught up with all these other things that we need. Like we need to work out every day, which is important. We need to eat gluten free, so and so diet. We need to have our antioxidants. But at the end of the day, the most important thing for longevity, and they've done studies on this, is to have that human connectedness, that sense of being belonging to community, that true authentic communication and that true authentic relationship is probably the most important ingredient for longevity and vitality and for living a healthy, happy life.
Good. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Dr. Duncan, we're about to go into the question number 2. This is going to be a speed round because I want to make sure I leave the space for Richard's question, which is the wild card question.
Mm-hmm.
But for the speed round, now we're going to talk about what are the things that you do to sharpen the saw. So you don't have to go into this long essay, but physical. What do you do to sharpen your physical? You already answered this one, but tell us something different you do.
Uh, I've been on a new diet. I'm doing protein, fruit, and vegetables, and I'm trying to stick to just that. Trying to stay away from carbs and things like that for a little while. That's
Okay.
one of my that's one and taking vitamins.
And take advice. Supplements are great. All right. What do you do for your mental?
Like I said before, it's the music. I don't meditate much. If times have ever gotten bad, I'm not afraid to say that I've been to a therapist myself before. I think that it's important to be able to go somewhere and relieve the tensions that you have of your everyday from a mental health standpoint as well.
And I appreciate you, brother, for listening to me when I call you because you my therapist sometimes.
All day. You know how we do
Spiritual.
it.
What do you do to
Uh,
maintain the spiritual?
I'm not much of a meditator. I believe and I definitely call on his greatness for my direction. I can't say that I couldn't be better, but I think that we all oftentimes fall off. But one of the other things we do is we have a group chat where, my good brother, Minister Brent Thomas, always drops some good vibes to us daily meditations that we read, and that kindredness between brothers and spiritual talk amongst that group chat is one of my ways too.
Shout out to Brent Thomas. Thank you for the word in the morning. What do you do to maintain relationships? You're up next, Richard.
For me, maintain relationships.
Well, no. Dr. Duncan's first, but I'm coming to you next.
Okay.
Just trying to be myself, be who I am every day, and being the same person. If I can be the same person every day, I think I'd be hard pressed to find people that don't at least, find me, relatable in some ways. I don't change up too much who I am. If I ever cross the line with you or make you feel a certain way, that's, hey, it's a conflict of personalities, but it's never done to be intentional. I think from a standpoint of keeping keeping relationships tight, you got to be who you are. You can't be somebody else, because that's where the relationship starts, with two people liking the fact of who those two people are.
Exactly. Great answers. Richard, your challenge is you can't use none of his answers. This is kind of like our Family Feud.
Okay. Well, we're relationships first.
Relationships first, yeah.
Yeah, I think, for me, since I do work a lot, when I have interaction with people, sometimes it can be like so agenda driven. With my true authentic relationships, the people like my close friends and family, sometimes it's good to have like that non-agenda moments. Just going out and hanging out. Like last night, I hung out with my buddies, watched Michigan get whooped up by Texas Tech last night. So still diehard Blue fan, but just hanging out with the buddies, at the restaurant, with no agenda whatsoever, but just watching the game and being with each other. That really just boost and sharpen our relationship. So I enjoy those moments instead of just an agenda where we had to get some work done or get something accomplished. So that's important for me and for sharpening human relationships.
It is. All right, let's move on up to spiritual.
For me, like I told you the two things that I like, but also one thing, and then we talked about it before in the past, is just appreciating that's like the smaller things in life, So it's a simple appreciation. It can be something that's like, damn, I made some good oatmeal today, and I'm thankful for that. Yeah, just those little things sometimes make all the difference.
That's important. What do you do to maintain your mental?
I like to read. Reading is really good because I think that really just gives me it widens my perspective. So I think the wider your perspective is, you're for me it's easy to have like that neutral mind with things. So you don't get too high, you don't get too low. You're always in an equanimous state, so you can be able to attack decisions quickly, and you can be able to trust people or know not to trust them quickly too. Your intuition is just sharp. So I think reading and traveling does all that for both my mental and my intuitive state.
Very nice. Bring us on home. What do you do to sharpen the physical?
Exercise and yoga. That's it. And hiking. I love all that stuff. Yeah, but yeah, I like functional training. I train very functionally. Not to try to get big like Arnold back in the Mr. Universe days. Or a great documentary I saw, Ronnie Coleman, the King. You guys should watch that. It's trippy. This dude is like crippled now, but he was like Mr. Universe for like 8 times. But he was like squatting like 20, leg pressing 2,800 pounds just to do this. But he blew his back out like 8 surgeries. But I don't train like that. I just train to bring symmetry and balance in my body. So like, honestly, I'm in my 40s. I'm completely pain free. I've never been like that. I grew up in the streets of Inkster, so we used to play ball all the time. In the streets, tackle in the streets, sometimes in dress shoes, playing 21. So you guys know how that goes. So that put a lot of wear and tear on my joints. And then for the last 15 years, I just trained completely differently. So, my body feels really good.
Gentlemen, we got some good tips. I'm over here taking notes. Well,
yeah.
Richard, this is our time for our wild card question.
Well, okay. First of all, I'm a big NBA fan, big hoops fan in general. And me and my buddy and I, we always say this thing like, the disparity between like athleticism and skill set between the best player and the worst player is probably not that much, but the biggest disparity is in the mindset. What would you say about that, Doctor?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, like
Yeah.
if you line these guys up and you did full court sprints and you timed
Mm-hmm.
them, and you did vertical leap
Mm-hmm.
and timed them, if you did, you know, shooting exercises, I mean, or lifting exercises about how much weight they can lift, they're all going to be about the same.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a mentality, there is a level of confidence, and there is a skill set with a basketball, combining all those different tools that makes some of these guys just that much better. There's
Mm-hmm.
also a leash. I mean, like some guys are given a longer leash, and that's based on demonstration usually of that mentality by a coach. Some coaches get it and realize, you know what, I can't hold this guy back. I got to kind of live and die with some of the stuff that he does because he's that good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would agree with you on that wholeheartedly. I would think that it is a strong mentality. There's certain guys, the Hardens of the world, the Durants of the world,
Mm-hmm.
Steph Curry, even LeBron in his right. There's certain guys that can just have like this unbelievable ability to take over things. They see the game at a different speed. They have a different level of intelligence when it comes to the game. And regardless of whether they're like an example is like Dirk Nowitzki. How's this guy still playing? He can barely run, but
Mm-hmm.
finds a way to get buckets. You
Yeah.
know, So it's yeah, it's definitely a mentality. I think you are very right about that.
Yeah. But when you say overall, like, these people are great on the court, but probably also great in life too. It's like their mindset is totally different. It's like, they're always thinking about, like, they're not thinking about like, I'm gonna go out to the shoe store and close down the shoe store with my entourage and whatnot. That's not their mindset off the court. Their mindset is like, I'm going to be focused and prepared for the game. What do I need to do to train my body to get to the next level? What do I need to do to recover to get to the next level? What do I need to take care of my family? When you say
Yeah.
those people share that mindset versus, a different type
Yes.
of mindset, which is tough. When you're 18, 19 years old, and a lot of these kids come from the inner city, they get a lot of money. I understand. It can be like,
Sure.
what?
Yeah.
Shoot.
I mean, yeah. Some guys. I mean, some guys are like that.
Yeah.
But then there's some guys who are just flat out freaks. Like they can go out all night, show up, and
Hmm.
still give you 30 and look
Yeah.
like nothing happened. Now, longevity doesn't necessarily lie on their side. Some guys can do that for 4 or 5 years, and then you see a sharp decline.
Hmm.
Um, but the new age basketball player, I believe you're correct in most rights, is that they're all about doing the LeBron. They're about getting their boys on.
Hmm.
They're about, but not just getting their boys on, for bottles of champagne and let's party. They're about finding a way to get their boys into the industry to make them a niche, to basically give them a job.
That's
And
beautiful. That's beautiful.
they're sending their boys to school, go to
Mm.
school and learn, and go to law school. I'm paying for it. You're going to be my
Mm.
lawyer in 4 years. You know, um, I'm going to send you to PR school. I'm going to make sure you understand how to do marketing. Um,
Mm.
and you cook, but I need you to be able to cook this way. So I'm going to send you to a culinary arts school to make you a chef.
Hmm.
Um, you like video and stuff. You're going to be my videographer. You're going to travel with me. You're going to chronologize my life in the NBA, and we're going to put out a documentary.
So they're
So that,
building a real enterprise.
yeah, these young brothers are, man. These young
That's
brothers are
that,
terribly enterprising, man. It's it,
that's
it's it's a lot of love to see because I was in the old NBA
yeah.
for a while, like 97, 99. I was with the Pistons, and
Okay.
I saw a little difference there. Then
Yeah.
compared to these guys come out of this thing with a marketing plan,
Hmm.
with a plan, and they also have a platform. Many of these guys actually stand for something, man. Like I
You
mean,
know,
they take causes and run with them and put money and have functions and realize the power that they have with their gym shoes that they can sign them and I mean it's amazing. It's amazing.
You know, that's definitely my hats off to like the millennials and the Generation Zers. It's like they have that overall consciousness, and they also have that entrepreneurial spirit. They understand, you know, this like it's more than just a job. Like, you know, how can I consistently add value to myself and to my people who are in my network, and to build a true enterprise? And these young kids have it. You know, and my little nephew, he's the same way. He's 18 years old, and he has that same mindset. And it's not, I mean, I guess it's like, you know, us, like the people that are like the Generation X's and whatnot, you know, we kind of still come from that era where like, oh, if you work this job for the rest of your life, you're going to be set. But like these new guys, they don't have that mentality anymore. They know like, you know, like nothing is guaranteed. So we got to be consistently entrepreneurial. We got to consistently sharpen our saw. We got to consistently enterprise. So, and we got to consistently build our network so we can consistently grow. So, you know, that's definitely a growth mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, I would tell you that this right here has been an awesome time for us. Dr. Duncan, I want to thank you so much for your time today visiting with Richard and I. You got a lot of great information to share. I got to go back and digest some of it, because what I'm finding out when I watch these shows after the fact, I start finding a lot of different nuggets, and it becomes material for future shows. So, Dr. Duncan, we'd like to invite you back for a future show if your schedule permits.
Man, you know I'm going to make time for you, homeboy. You know how you do it.
Well, Dr. Duncan, this is the final episode of season 2. Richard, we made it. We made it. I wanted to end the show with an awesome person. I think Dr. Duncan was the right person before we close it out. Richard, you got any final words?
Appreciate it, man. Yeah.
I don't have anything. I'm thank you for coming on the show. You know, I learned so much from you today. You know, and that's right on, man. And you know, help those brothers, man, because they are definitely the future, man. You know, they're blessed with a tremendous skill set and athleticism. They can do a lot of good in this world. I think, especially amongst the other young blacks and minorities that can't play ball at a professional level, they look up to those people for inspiration. So, you know, I think help guide them so we can improve our peoples.
Yeah. Hey, well, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it, man. What you guys are doing is wonderful, man. Keep up the good work, man. Yeah. You know, don't let anything get in your way, man. Next thing you know, we're gonna be doing this on TV.
Oh yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we close out, I want to thank once again Dr. Galen Duncan, Josh Weber, Kenyatta Griggs, Anthony Rosa, Vaqueta Taylor, David Greenwood, and Diana Banu. You guys have all been fantastic guests this season, and we look forward to season 3.
Okay. Be limitless. Take care.
All right, fellas. Take it easy.
Take care.